Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, the Grand Theft Auto franchise has been one of the most popular and most successful franchises in video game history out there. Grand Theft Auto 5 with the online play and all of that kind of stuff has actually turned it into the most successful and financially successful video game in history, boys and girls. They have made billions of dollars off of that company off that game out there. And well, needless to say, a lot of us have been huge fans. I know I've been playing it since some of the early days of it, and I've played every single one of them that's come out. So obviously with the release of GTA 6's trailer almost a year ago at this point, a lot of people were kind of cautiously worried about where this game might go. And considering the last couple of years in the video game industry out there, I think a lot of people had very much concerns to be wide, because the real question is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to be woke or not? And yes, give me all the hate you want in the comments out there. It just feeds the algorithm anyway. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of signs out there saying that this is a very good possibility. We've even heard from some of our own inside sources inside of the gaming industry out there that a lot of the devs involved in this game simply aren't saying anything about it at all. And generally that's a sign that means they're very worried that the fan reception is not going to be good. I mean, seriously, we haven't heard anything about GTA 6 and how long? No updates, no release date, absolutely nothing on it. Well, boys and girls, considering the tide has been turning as far as the woke agenda when it comes to a lot of the crazy cult nonsense that we've been dealing with, the diversity, inclusion, and equity, and this considering the fact that 2024 has been a year where the video game industry has lost billions of dollars betting on this modern audience that does not exist. Well, it looks like, boys and girls, we've got more signs and more evidence that GTA 6 might go down that exact same path, which might be why Rocksteady's out there holding back on this and not releasing the game or not giving us any kind of announcements, because who knows, they might be trying to fix it behind the scenes. And considering the fact that we're getting our first female protagonist in the series out there, it's generally not a good sign, and it's got a lot of people worrying. And now we've got even more evidence to add to that pile that it turns out, yes, boys and girls, GTA 6 might end up being nothing more than a woke, disastrous dumpster fire. Because as you can see over here from fandompulse.substack.com, report Grand Theft Auto 6 developer targeting white people with diversity, inclusion, and equity indoctrination courses. Oh yes, boys and girls, the cult is out in full bore brainwashing as many people they can to convince them that they're horrible and wrong people just because of the way they were born, just because of the color of their skin. They're evil and must of course bow themselves down to the cult and of course proselytize themselves, whip themselves before the cult and go, I'm such a bad person because of the color of my skin. Please forgive me for what my ancestors did. Yes, boys and girls, it is just exactly what you think it is. It's a bunch of racist nonsense convincing a bunch of people to hate themselves for something they had absolutely no hand in any way, shape, or form. And we have seen where this path has gone down with a whole bunch of industry companies out there. I mean, seriously, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. I don't know, Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know, how about Dragon Age Veilguard? Do we even need to talk about the disastrous dumpster fire that was Concord? There is no reason out there for any reasonable gamer out there not to think that GTA 6 will not go down the exact same path that the rest of these studios has. And maybe in somebody inside that company still has half a brain inside of their head, and they are now trying to scramble to fix it because clearly, especially after the election, it's been very obvious that Western audiences don't want any part of your cult or any of the rest of your diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense. And that's exactly what we've got right here, because boys and girls, unless things change, I can't wait to report to you that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be nothing more than a woke, disastrous dumpster fire that fails miserably. But I'd also much prefer to actually get excited and live stream the living hell out of the game when it finally, if ever, actually releases, boys and girls. So that's exactly what we're going to get into right now. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Are you cautiously optimistic about GTA 6? Do you think the delays and all of the not hearing any kind of updates or any kind of news about this is worrying? Do you think a lot of these reports are true? Do you think all of this is going to end up being an absolute fact and that GTA 6 is going to be nothing more than a diversity, equity, and inclusion dumpster fire like what we've seen so much over the past few years? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. So from our dear sweet John F. Trent over at fandompulse.substack, a new report claims that Rockstar Games, the developer of Grand Theft Auto 6, is targeting its employees based on race for diversity, equity, and inclusion indoctrination courses, DEI. YouTuber Eddymon, with the help of That Park Place writer Francisco Solback, and I highly recommend go checking out the That Park Place article by Francisco, because he literally breaks down everything, like the history of all the people involved in all of this kind of nonsense, all the kind of stuff that they've worked on in the past, graph showing you that this is nothing more than a bunch of cult members trying to brainwash other people into believing the exact same way they are. And by the way, boys and girls, if you want to take a second, if you hadn't already been able to tell, this video is going to be a little bit of a long one. So go get you a snack, go get you something to drink, and come on back. Ready? Okay, cool. Let's go. YouTuber Eddie Mon, with the help of That Park Place writer Francisco Solback, uncovered that Rockstar was funneling its white employees into a DEI indoctrination courses called Unconscious Bias, ran by Stacey A. Gordon. Yes, boys and girls, brainwashing camp. Eddie Mon stated the unconscious bias thing was a big part of the scoop because whenever people claim that white devs specifically are not being targeted or forced to comply with beliefs or whims of others, I mean, it's just simply not true. White developers are absolutely getting strangled by this industry to comply with these insane demands. Yes, it is. Boys and girls, why do they hate white people? Why do they hate white people? I just don't get it. Specifically, Eddie Mon detailed, this unconscious bias, by the way, is not just some random thing, but what Francisco was able to discover was that it is actually a mandatory course that was pushed on to employees of Rockstar. Which ones, you may be asking? You can probably guess it, but it was exclusively pretty much only white employees who work at Rockstar right now that were put through this course. Once again, what do they have against white people? Oh, that's right. The cult believes they're the ones in charge, that they're the ones responsible for absolutely every evil and rotten thing that's ever happened to anybody, completely ignoring all the historical fact that literally every race on the planet has been enslaved at one point or another. And guess what? A lot of time it's been by their own race. So color me shocked there that these crybabies who don't know anything about actual legitimate history, well, it's all white people's fault. So they must be punished and brainwashed into believing that, And so guess what? My half-white side kind of takes a little bit of offense to this garbage. He explained, based on what Francisco found, of the 60 employees forced to take this unconscious bias course in order to gain a certification, around 58 of them were white people. The other two of these 60 people were of Asian descent. Oh, color of shock there. Remember how Asians are white passing? Remember how Asians got discriminated at large universities out there because they just score too high and they do too well and they push out other minorities? Yeah, that's right. Because Asians are white people now, boys and girls. Because guess what? Asians break the mold of their BS saying, well, the minorities are held down by all the white people and yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? The Asians don't do that. They're have some of the highest success rates in grade school. They have some of the highest success rates in college graduates. And guess what? So do the Indians. Why? Because their culture is all about hard work and making sure you achieve your goals. I mean, there's a reason why the tiger mom stereotype exists, boys and girls. If you've ever met one, trust me, you completely and totally understand why those children succeed. It's the exact same thing with Indian cultures too. I've been around Indian families. I've interacted with them. I've worked for them before. Trust me, these people are hardcore about making sure that, yes, the old adage of you're going to be a doctor. Trust me, it's completely and totally accurate. They are hardcore about this kind of stuff. It is nuts. So of course, that's why the Asians had to go to the brainwashing course too, because you're white passing and you don't meet our stereotype. Boy, I wonder who the racists are. Later, he stated, right now, as it stands, Rockstar is completely infected with woke pandering DEI initiatives that have ran through a whole swath of white employees, almost exclusively into submitting, then receiving a certificate to confirm their own unconscious racist bias, according to these woke grifters who are infesting Rockstar right now at insane rates. Yes, boys and girls, and trust me, if you work in corporate America, I guarantee you at some point you have seen something exactly like this. We have people on our own chat that have had, when we do live streams, one of our guys out there literally had to push back and fight back against his own company. Fortunately enough, he won, but that's what it takes. Most people aren't willing to stand up for themselves and do it. They're just at a job, they're just trying to collect a paycheck, they just keep their head down, they're like, yeah, whatever, and they ignore it. Trust me, I've been in plenty, as an aircraft mechanic, I was in plenty of safety meetings out there that people weren't paying any attention to at all. But this shows you where the mentality of the leadership is. And guess what? The leadership controls the creative decisions behind Grand Theft Auto 6, and I wonder how that's going to go if they're forcing all of their white employees and their Asian employees into nothing more than a brainwashing indoctrination cult camp. As shown in screenshots in the video, unconscious bias is a certification Rockstar employees could obtain by taking a 23-minute DEI indoctrination course ran by Gordon and certified by LinkedIn. Also, just on top of the whole fact, it's a 23-minute course. This just shows you that everything about this is nothing more than a monetary grift, right? Because what are you going to teach somebody in in 23 minutes. Well, you're a racist, so in 23 minutes, we're going to figure out how to get you to identify, and after that 23-minute course, you're no longer going to be a racist. I mean, that's how stupid this is. The official description for the training states, we're all biased. Well, then why are only white people going to the training? Our experiences shape who we are, and our race, ethnicity, gender, height, weight, sexual orientation, place of birth, and other factors impact the lens of which we view the world. You could have just said the culture you were raised in. That's literally all it is. The culture you are raised in impacts how you view the world. Guess what? It doesn't have anything to do with your genitalia. It doesn't have anything to do with your skin color, you racist. It has to do with the culture you grew up in. Ever met a white guy from the hood? Boy, I wonder how they act. It's because it's the culture they grew up in. You ever met a black person from the country who wears cowboy boots and a cowboy hat like my brother does? It's because of the culture that they were raised in, you fucking racists. In this course, diversity expert Stacey Gordon helps you recognize and acknowledge your own biases so that you can identify them when making decisions and prevent yourself from making calls based on a biased viewpoint. Oh yes, you only want to make that woman beautiful and bountiful because you're a sexist man. Yeah, you're so toxic. You have to understand that you're inherently toxic because you have a fucking penis and not a vagina. Because I've got a vagina, I'm so much better than you and I can talk down to you and tell you how it fucking is. This is the insanity of these people. This is the absolute fucking insanity of this people. Stacey explains some of the most common forms that her biases take: an affinity bias, a halo bias, a perception bias, a confirmation bias. She helps you recognize the negative effects of biases within your own organization as well as the benefits to be realized by uncovering biases in decision-making processes. Finally, she outlines strategies for overcoming personal and organizational biases. Yes, boys and girls, everything you've done, everything you've ever learned, every way you've ever acted, every decision you ever made is fucking wrong! And you're a racist and a sexist and a phobe and this and that and everything else, and you're everything wrong with the culture. That's what these fucking people think. They are literally insane, and that's only the true believers. The rest of them are fucking grifters just trying to make money off this. A 23-minute course? Really? Really? That is nothing more than a race grift. A preview for the course sees Gordon state, unconscious bias is something that we are all need to be aware of because it affects us all. My name is Stacey Gordon. Color us shocked. What do you want to bet? It's a white woman. I'm a human capital and diversity capital with recruiting expertise. Fucking human capital and diversity capital. Talk about the most made up fucking jobs I have ever heard in my life. Who the fuck would you take like a 15-minute online course in how to be a fucking racist? Like, I'm really kind of curious about that. I spent years working in Fortune 500 companies, infecting and brainwashing Fortune 500 companies. Don't believe me? I don't know. You want to ask Bud Light how their trans representation campaign went? A nonprofit organization specializing in diversity and inclusion. And today I hope to bring awareness to the topic of unconscious bias and get you to think about how it might affect you and how we might be affecting others. 1% bias in favor of men applied over 20 years. Oh, I'm sure those numbers weren't cherry picked in any way, shape, or form. In this course, we're going to talk about unconscious bias and the impact it has on business. We'll identify and discuss specific types of bias and begin thinking about them in new terms. And when we're done, we'll answer the questions. What's next? That's right, because you can't just be not racist. No, you have to be actively anti-racist. Not just enough to not be racist. No. You have to go out there and force everybody else onto it just like you. I don't know about you, boys and girls, but that sure as fuck sounds like a cult to me. This unconscious bias certification was not the only one the company was subjecting its employees to. It was also subjecting them to one called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, run by Pat Waters. To be clear, Solbach does note that Rockstar employees subjected to this course spanned multiple demographics within the company. Well, this one they did, but not the other one. I wonder why. Nevertheless, this course's official description states, diversity is having a culture that values uniqueness, people of different backgrounds, cultures, genders, and races. is. Oh, so basically only their immutable characteristics matter, not what they can actually bring to the table or not whether they can actually be a good employee. That's right. That's why we call them diversity hires, because they suck at their jobs and the racists out there only hired them because of their skin color. By the way, as any of you out there that are people of color, you know what I mean? That wonderful little buzzword. You know, if you're black, white, brown, if you're half Mexican like me, or if you're another one of the million of us mutts out there, or hell, if you're white, how would that make you feel to know that the only reason you got hired for a job, it's not because of how hard you worked, it's not because of the college degrees you got, it's not because of how much experience you have in the industry and what you bring to the table? No, they only hired you because of the color of your skin. Explain to me who the racists are again, boys and girls. If you've tuned into conversations about HR, you've probably heard these terms before. Oh yes, because the HR department, you know, human resources, that's where a lot of this infection begins. And that's why all of these hires end up being a bunch of diversity hires, because they infected HR first and then marketing second, because marketing convinced all the old white people that were in charge of these companies to go down this path because you're going to get a new modern audience. And who doesn't love diversity? You're just going to have so many more employees, with no one along the lines realizing that this is exactly what they were going to do. And we've seen the kind of disastrous dumpster fires that have come from this kind of nonsense. It's belonging that makes each individual feel accepted for who they are. Exploring the diversity, inclusion, and belonging approach and discover how to activate it in your organization. Join HR luminary Pat Waters. Oh, look, she's got fucking pink hair. Color us fucking shocked there. She's got the dyke haircut. I wonder if I can get away with saying that on YouTube. She's got the dyke haircut with a pink hair, and it's a fucking white woman. It's a fucking white, cultist, liberal white woman. There's another word I want to use that I definitely can't get away with on YouTube. But oh my God, color us shocked there. I swear to fucking God, middle-aged white women are the bane on fucking American and Western culture out there. It's always one of these crazy fucking white women out there. Look, I'm going to be a racist for a minute. Fucking crazy white liberal women are the fucking problem with society nowadays. This is the kind of shit they push, because instead of having children and having a family and actually finding some kind of real satisfaction and accomplishment in life, no, they want to go out there and be busy fucking bodies in everybody else's fucking life and run everybody down into the fucking ground. Color us shocked there. Find, get married, have a family, have babies, find a purpose in your life. Stop being a fucking busybody in everybody else's fucking business. Managers and executives should tune in for a special tips on embedding DIBs in the employee experience. That's right, management. Force this into every single aspect of your company, just like we have seen you do over the last few years. Color us shocked there. So I'm sure most of you actual racists out there didn't make it all the way to the end of the video, because now you're out there in the chat calling me a racist, where I'm not the one out here trying to judge people by their skin color. Rocksteady is. Grand Theft Auto is the one forcing people to be judged by the color of their skin and not the content of their character. I don't know about you guys, boys and girls, but I grew up in the 90s where literally that's what it was all about. We actually lived Martin Luther King's dream. That's why my entire family are a bunch of half-breeds. I'm half Mexican. My little sister's half black. My little brother's a quarter Korean. My little sister's white. Like literally. We are the epitome of Martin Luther King's dream, and racist assholes that have currently infected Grand Theft Auto 6 and everybody else inside this company are the direct opposite. They're the antithesis to MLK's dream. They are the fucking racists. So is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to be woke? Yes. Yes, there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever at this point, between my own industry insiders and all of this kind of stuff out there, plus what Rocksteady's posted on their fucking things and everything else on their websites about all of this diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense. Because we have seen this happen time and time again. I'm not a prophet. I'm not some fucking seer that's been blessed by God with the vision of foresight. It's just basic understanding of history. We have seen Every single company that has been infected by this woke diversity, inclusion, and equity cult and been completely and totally taken over. They infect HR first, then they go to marketing, and then eventually they're running the entire company. And there's no reason to believe there is anything different going on over there at Grand Theft Auto 6's development, boys and girls. There is no reason to think that in any way, shape, or form. Until they prove us wrong, Grand Theft Auto will be a woke, disastrous dumpster fire, and it will cost them hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion, when this thing launches. Boy, I wonder why they've been so quiet about Grand Theft Auto 6 and when it's releasing, because even they have seen the writing on the wall that this diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense goes one place and one place only, into the disastrous dumpster fire. And trust me, Grand Theft Auto 6 definitely doesn't want to end up like Concord. And we all know how that ended, don't we, boys and girls?